Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's featured Reddit stories are from Am I the A-Hole? Story 1 is by Dre Gorin. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give up my front row spot at a concert due to someone claiming to be disabled? A couple of weeks ago, I traveled to another country to see an artist I've been a fan of for 6 years. This was a once-in-a-lifetime experience for me, and I'd been waiting months for it. I sacrificed a lot financially and mentally to make it happen. Since it was my first, and probably only time seeing them, I went all out. I bought GA tickets and arrived at the queue at 5 a.m., even though the doors wouldn't open until 6:30 or 7 p.m., in freezing cold weather. I waited all day, hungry, cold, and dehydrated, but it was worth it because when the doors opened, I secured a front row barricade spot right up against the stage. This was my dream spot. Then, a guy behind me tapped me on the shoulder and told me he was disabled. He said the venue was supposed to let disabled attendees in earlier, but they hadn't. He asked me to give him my spot at the barricade. Here's the thing, I know this venue is very accommodating for disabled attendees. I actually have friends with disabilities who have gone to shows here, and the staff always ensures they get to the front row safely during a designated time frame before it gets too crowded. Now, I'm a very short person, 155 centimeters, 5 foot 1 inch. And just so you know, the OP does add an edit later. They messed up a little bit on some of the conversions in here. And this guy was extremely tall, easily over 5'5". If I gave him my spot, I wouldn't be able to see anything at all, because he would completely block my view. I honestly would have been willing to move if he wasn't so tall or I could still see from the second row. However, in this case, I knew I'd lose the view I had waited more than 10 hours for. I tried to compromise. I pointed out that the right side of the barricade was still open and suggested he go there. Since he's so tall, he'd still have a great view and could hold on to the rail for support. However, he refused, saying the view wasn't as good as where I was. While we were talking, that section filled up and he became more insistent. He said he'd have a hard time if he couldn't take my spot. At this point, I got frustrated and explained, 1, if his disability was that serious, he should be in the accessible section, which is specifically designed for attendees with disabilities. 2, if he insisted on being in the standing section, he should have brought a support aid like a cane. I'd seen someone nearby with one. 3, if he spoke to security, they could escort him to the front row disabled seating, which has a fantastic view and is much more accommodating. After hearing this, he called me an a-hole, told me to get effed, and left. I feel like he just wanted my spot and wasn't being very truthful. The venue offers several options for disabled attendees, and I tried to direct him to alternatives. I feel bad for saying no, but I don't think it was fair for him to ask me to sacrifice my entire experience. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. Regarding the man's height, after everyone pointed it out, I realized I indeed made a mistake. I don't live in a country that uses a metric system, and I should have double-checked my conversion instead of estimating from memory. I meant to say he was over 170 centimeters, probably around 175 to 180. No, you're not the a-hole. You even gave him alternatives. He just, for some reason, wanted your spot. And as some people pointed out in the comments underneath, why did he want your spot and nobody else's? Is it because you were the shortest person? You were the one he assumed would be nice? You were the small one, so he assumed he could just intimidate you and make you move for him. I also would have told this guy, I waited for 10 hours in the freezing cold for this spot, and I'm not moving, I'm sorry. But yeah, you're not the a-hole. Why should your experience be diminished just because somebody behind you says they're disabled? And maybe they are, but they're tall. Go off to the sides where there's still space, or go to the accessible area. You gave him options, and he still didn't want it. He just wanted your spot. I think he was lying. Our next story today is by Nat90. Would I be the a-hole for not going to my husband's family's Christmas? I am a first responder and have been for the last 3 years. My schedule is a rotating shift pattern, days and nights. The pattern is consistent and I can tell you what days I'm working very far in advance. Because of this, I told my entire family last year that I would be working on Christmas this year and reminded them when we saw them, this is the first time I've had to work on Christmas. My side of the family understands, and we are celebrating with just my parents and siblings another day. My husband's family is really into Christmas. Like everyone needs to be at sister-in-law's house at 8 a.m. to open presents together, and then we spend the entire day together. So when I asked if we could celebrate together another day over the holidays instead, it got shut down with statements like, "Christmas is on December 25th," or "I don't understand, can't you just take the day off?" So I let them know my husband would be attending solo this year. This morning while I was at work, my husband, who works a 9 to 5 and is enjoying his day off, texts me, "It would be nice if you could come for a couple hours tomorrow after work." I declined because, 1, sister-in-law lives 90 minutes away, so that's 3 hours of driving. I would be driving home at night with not the best weather. 2, my job can be very stressful and my social battery is drained by the time I get home. 3, we already agreed that it made more sense for me to stay home and have him go to his parents' house on Christmas Eve so they could drive over in the morning together. Well, my husband is pissed and thinks that I don't want to spend time with his family. He's been sending me passive-aggressive texts all day trying to guilt-trip me. We don't know how much time we have left with my parents. It's working because I feel like I'm letting everyone down and I don't want his family to think I don't want to spend Christmas with them. Would I be the a-hole if I stuck to our original plan instead of making an effort to go see his family tomorrow after work? Some people's jobs are far too important to take time off. I mean, you definitely, if you really, really wanted to, could call in sick, but I would think you would want to kind of keep those days for when you're actually sick. You're saving lives. You're a first responder. Your job is very, very important. Hats off to you guys for being able to do what you do and saving lives so many days throughout the year. Down in the comments were a couple shared stories by other first responders and people who work in emergency services. First by cover character 8179. I work in the field of emergency services, and the fact is that we, as a group, are never off duty. And unless you are going to screw your colleagues and they're going to somehow allow it, you have to take your share of holiday shifts. My family is completely used to celebrating important occasions with me on the wrong calendar date. OP, I don't know how long you've been with your husband, so maybe the situation is salvageable, but he needs to get with the effing program yesterday. Not the a-hole. Agreed on that. Your husband sounds kind of insensitive to this whole thing. Like, he doesn't care that you're saving lives. You need to come and visit with his sister and family. He can go alone. And if they don't see you for a year, that's fine. Down further in the comments was somebody else who works in emergency services by Cracker Sucker 2. You work emergency services. I worked emergency services for 35 years. Holidays happen when we can organize them, sometimes not on the actual holiday. My family, my in-laws, they all understood this. It's normal. So many people have military, police, hospital, firefighters, and hospitality jobs that occur 24/7, 365. Your husband needs to realize your career is not like a business Monday through Friday, 8 through 5 or whatever. You are an important part of society. You are not a jerk. You are an important person with an important job. Your husband needs to get on board. It's about you, not his family. Do not feel guilt. Get this issue sorted. If he never understands and is going to be pressured by his family to pressure you, draw that line. You are fine. Thank you for doing the hard work of serving the public. I'm a dispatcher and I have some cuss words if you need them. You can't cuss as a dispatcher. What are you doing? Anyway, our last story today is by ThrowRA Guava 6272. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my mom to stay another week after her pipes burst just before Christmas? I'm a 38 female. I'm celebrating Christmas with my mom, who's 68, my brother, who's 47, and his family. My mom flew in from out of state, and we are driving to a meetup location to spend the time with my brother's family. A place in the mountains we all enjoy just for the holidays. All of us live hours away, our mom being the furthest, on the opposite coast. My brother and I are several hours away by car. This year, we received the bad news that while my mom has been at my place, her pipes froze and flooded her basement. She is upset, understandably. I helped her get everything started and have her insurance, a cleanup team, and a general contractor all working on her place while she's with me. She then broached the topic that she wanted to extend her week stay to 2 weeks or more. I said no, I need to get back to my regular routine and get ready to return to work. She's welcome to stay here as originally planned, which is until Saturday. Then she said she may ask to ride back with my brother and his family to their home in another state, opposite direction than me. She refused to ask him until Christmas, so I gave my brother a heads up last night so he has a chance to speak with his wife. I also told him that he's under no obligation to say yes, as she is welcome to stay with me until Saturday, and her insurance company will be footing the bill for most of her stay at a hotel and meals. Big if, her residence is uninhabitable, which we do not know at this time. He told me he didn't have room to take her back with him, 3 people in his car and no room for a 4th, assuming luggage is the issue. That I should let her stay with me because she's lonely. I told him I understood that, but I'm not wrong for wanting to cap my time with her at the 1 week originally planned. He had left that text on send. My mom can be a challenging personality, and with this unfortunate development, she's even more difficult. I love my mom, but I'm tired. I want my house back and I don't want to be criticized or complained at. I refused to allow my lonely mother to extend her stay with me despite the recent damages and unknown state of her home. Am I the a-hole for prioritizing my space and personal downtime over my mother's emotional needs? That's a tough one. It's really hard to say no to family during the holidays. I gotta say though, I definitely see some potential small red flags. You definitely have a right to not want to be with somebody who's a difficult personality, who criticizes everything and kind of makes your life rougher while she's there. But the fact that she wants to extend her stay to 2 weeks or more, how does she not have like a timeline of when the house should be fixed? It sounds like she just wants to stay there, and it has nothing to do with the pipes breaking. Did they even break? Are you sure about that? They must have actually broken because you were working with the people setting it up to be fixed. But it would really suck if your mom's like truly alone, living by herself. Like, is your dad out of the picture? I don't see any mention of him in this. It would be really difficult for me to say no to a parent like that. But I also understand why you want to. Like, you having to go back to work, you don't want somebody who's there for you when you get home. Like, it's just like people were talking about in the last one, social batteries can be drained, and they can be even too drained to deal with family when you come home from work. So I completely understand it. I don't really think that you're an a-hole for saying no. There are a lot of mother-in-laws specifically in these stories that they come visit for a while and then they want to stay a whole lot longer, and they're kind of annoying and pushy and nitpicky. So you should definitely keep your boundaries. Our stories for today have come to a close. Until we meet again, have a beautiful day.